Admin Toolkit. So hopefully this goes well. But um, yeah, just wanted to walk through what this is and show how you guys can get the toolkit and potentially how you it can get involved as well. So quick background about myself. My name's Alex Meyer. For those that may not know, I work for a company called Protivity, doing Dynamics 365 finance and operations, security audit, and compliance engagements with customers, helping them ensure their security is set up correctly. Um, all my contact information there in the middle of my blog and book and all sorts of different things. I've been around the community for quite a while now. Started working with AX back in 2013 and then F&O in 2016, and I've done all sorts of different session presentations, both in the US and in Europe. So happy to be here today, but let's go ahead and dive in. So the agenda for today is really fairly straightforward, right? We're going to look at what the F&O Admin Toolkit is, what features are currently available, where is it available at, what is on the roadmap for it, and then how you can get involved. So fairly straightforward, what we're going to look at today. So first and foremost, what is the Admin Toolkit? So this is really a set of features and functionality that help you perform administrative tasks within finance and operations. It is the tagline, I guess, or the um, you know, basically what it's built on is this idea that it's built for the community by the community. It's an open source project, so it's freely available on GitHub. You can look at the source code as well as get a deployable package version there. And really, the idea came from community feedback that I have done or that I had received through the many different engagements that I have, and then known gaps in the application itself, and trying to help alleviate some of those areas. So this is really a way to give back to the community to help take some of the knowledge that myself and other members of the community have and create a toolkit that we can give back. So that's really the genesis of it. So what current features currently exist? So again, this is going to be admin focused currently. And we're obviously looking to expand this footprint as we move forward, but this was actually released just earlier this year. So the number of features we already kind of have in this is quite surprising. And I'm truly honored by the feedback that we've already gotten from different members of the community and different contributions. So you can do things like assigning and revoking sysadmin without having to have access to like the security area within F&O, and we'll show how that kind of works here in a little bit. You can do environment comparisons, and again, we're going to do a demo to kind of show what this looks like, but basically being able to compare two different environments and see the difference for a particular configuration or data between those. You can see when the sysadmin role has been assigned to a user or revoked. So you can have that particular reporting. So if your auditors are asking about that, you can actually have a log of when that is occurring. There's a role access export to this, so you can actually export all of your role access at one time, and it dumps it out to a CSV. So instead of having to go to each role individually and do view permissions, you can dump that report out. And then we've had some great contributions from other language speakers within the community, right, to help translate some of the labels. So we currently support English, Spanish, and Norwegian languages. So definitely really cool to start looking at the multilingual support there. So what does the future roadmap of this look like, right? So there are other features that are currently either in development or planned. One of the other big ones that we have is auto disabling users, either based on the last time they were logged in, right? So a user that's past 90 days, right? That if they haven't logged in 90 days, we're going to disable them within F&O, or based on their Entra ID user status. So if you you have a user within your Entra ID, right, that's tied to your F&O user, And if I disable the user in Entra ID, I want that to flow to F&O and disable the user there. So both of those are currently in development and hoping to have a release coming out shortly for that. Other feedback that we've gotten or other features that have been requested include a time constraint on sysadmin. So kind of like if you're slightly more technical, if you have like a tier 2 environment and you request, database access for a certain amount of time, it gives it to you for 8 hours, right? And that access is provisioned and revoked based on that. So adding that functionality to the sysadmin assignment that we'll look at here in a second. And then the other big one, the one that I get asked about quite a bit when I do sessions is being able to integrate telemetry data to create a true firefighter role or functionality within D365. So that functionality is available in like SAP and Oracle because they have a transaction log of everything that's occurring in the system, right? So you can actually tie off what a user has done based on when they were assigned an elevated role or permissions. And so finance and operations doesn't have that natively, doesn't have a log capturing everything. And so if you have internal, external auditors and they're asking, show me everything this user did while they were assigned sysadmin, there's not a really clean way to do that. And so this is trying to help answer that type of question by bringing in the telemetry data that now exists or is available for finance and operations. So, and then there is a website that I'm using for like feature requests or roadmap. You can find on it's called Canny. So that link down there at the bottom will take you to where you can see the current features, or you can actually submit new feature requests as well. And we'll look at what that looks like here in just a second. So the next question is, how can I get it, right? So like I mentioned, it's available on GitHub. So for those that may not know, GitHub is a place to store open source code. So open source is just another way to say free code that or code that's developed that you're going to release publicly. So there's a project folder there, and underneath that project folder is either the source code that you can get and actually bring it into your environment. You can build it and have that become part of your environment itself, or there's deployable packages available as well. So if you want a more bundled version of it, I go in for every release that's done, do a project build of that to create a deployable package and then put that up there as well. And so this is all released under the MIT license, and all that really means is that the code is free, freely available. You can use it however you'd like. You can extend it. You can do whatever you'd like with it. You just have to basically give contribution to myself and others that have given back to the community in anything that you subsequently release. All right, so now the really fun part is the live demo. So we're going to walk through some of the features that we are currently available, and then we can go and look at where you can get it and all of that other good stuff here too. So the one that we can start with here is I have two different sessions of Dynamics opened. One I'm assigned a sysadmin role in. So we can actually see what's being assigned to this user, and then another instance I'm signed in as a test user. So if we log in and actually look at the test user here, which is what I'm going to be assigned into, right, we can see in this case this user is assigned the accountant role, the sysadmin role, and then it's also assigned one of the roles that comes with the toolkit, which is this admin toolkit maintain, which will become the reason for that will become apparent here very quickly. So in this other instance, I'm actually signed in as this test user. And so if we now go and actually go down to system administration, we're going to see we have a D365FO Admin Toolkit. This is the area that would or the submodule, right, that is gets deployed with the deployable package or when you add the code to your environment. It's going to have a number of different sections under here. There's system administrator, environment, inquiries and reports, and then setup. So the first one we'll look at here is this assign and revoke sysadmin. If I go ahead and click this, I have the option that I can either revoke or assign sysadmin. So I'll go ahead and I'm actually going to revoke the sysadmin from this role or from this user. So what this is going to do now is, if you remember, right, I'm only assigned the accountant role and that admin toolkit role. So if I refresh my page now, you're going to notice that the number of workspaces decreases, and the modules that I can get to is also going to decrease, simply because this user is no longer assigned the sysadmin role, right? So this allows you to do, going in this direction, right, allows you to do testing of role access, right? Because you can assign yourself a particular role. You can go and actually revoke your sysadmin, go in and actually see what this role has access to now and actually interact with the system. And then when you're done, you can assign your sysadmin back to your user, right? So you're not having to have multiple accounts open to do this. So that's in one direction. The other direction, right, is if you want to look at from a privileged account perspective, right, I could be, if my day-to-day operation only requires this accountant role, but I do need the additional permission of being able to, go out and do some sort of admin activity, right? That requires sysadmin for whatever reason. Right now, I can take a truly like least privilege approach to this, where I'm not assigned sysadmin all the time. I'm only assigned what I need to do. And then when it's needed, I can actually come in and now assign sysadmin back to my user. And so one of the configuration options here is that you can prompt for a reason as to why you're assigning sysadmin. So if you have like a ticketing system or some other external system that you want to tie this off to and say, hey, I'm responding to this troubleshooting, or I'm going into do some sort of database activity, right, that it requires sysadmin for, right, I can put that in. We'll just put user group meetup testing here, and then I can submit. So now, right, I can actually refresh, and you're going to notice that all of my access is back here as well, right? So now I'm a sysadmin within this environment again. So that's the functionality itself. Now, of course, the functionality is great, but if you are audit minded or audit focused, right, or compliance focused, right, you're going to want to know when that assignment occurs. And so there's a report that actually will show this as well. So you can actually see every time this test user has either been revoked or assigned, in this case, this particular role, you can see the reason for this, right? And you can see who actually modified it. So in this case, it was myself, going in and assigning this to the test user, right? You can see the date and time to this. So this portion of it will actually fire regardless of if you're using the the admin toolkit or if you're just assigning sysadmin itself. So you can actually, be assured that this is actually going to, capture the changes, regardless of where it's happening. So if you go into the user form itself and actually assign a sysadmin, right, that same functionality will actually, the logging and the request for the reason will still show up there. So that's the assigning and revoking sysadmin. The other one that I did want to show was this export system configuration. And so this really gets into, there's not a whole lot to show with this one. It's actually just going to, like, if I click on this, it's going to execute. But what it actually is going to output in this case is a zip file. And I actually have to show what these are. So this is actually going to go out and do a number of different queries. It's going to look at currently, it's going to look at user role assignments and then role access, and allow you to export that from one environment as a zip file. So this is the zip file that would be created. These are the actual files that I extracted from that, just to show what those would be. And then you could do this same thing for like a UAT environment, right? I'm in a dev environment now. I want to go to UAT, and then I want to do a comparison, right? And actually see what that would look like. So there's an environment comparison utility, again, available on GitHub, that you can then come in and actually, and if I'll just kick this off, we won't wait around for it, but just to show what it does, right? I would set one of these exports as my source, and then one as my destination. and then I'll give it an output folder. We'll just say documents, that's fine, right? So basically what I'm doing now is comparing the two configurations and allowing me to, see what this looks like. So this is going to give you a, and this is going to take a little bit of time here while that's working, but it's going to go out and do a comparison. And so this is what the file is going to look like once it's done. So it's comparing the configuration between two different environments. And so it's going to or the output of this is going to be this Excel file. And so it's actually going to show you the source and destination environments you have, what have been added, removed, or modified, added, removed, or modified, how many objects in that case, and then when this comparison was done. You're going to be able to see an overview, right? So I can come in and actually see the object that was modified here, the object type, and then the action from an overview perspective. And then if I really want to get down to the details, right, I can actually go in and actually see the old and new value, what actually changed, and then the entire object in a JSON format here. So you can actually then come in and see, okay, here's what actually changed on that particular object itself. From a security access perspective, it also we have a separate tab for this because these objects get very large, right? If you tried to show the role, sub-role, duty, privilege object differences, right, in the same format, it would not come across as nice. So I've actually added a separate tab for that, which would then allow you to see what was been added, removed, anything that's been modified. It'll actually show the old and new value in here, so you can see what has changed from a security perspective. So this really gets into trying to create, right now this is very security and user focused, but the idea of this is that you can make this, it's developed in a way to be a platform. So if users want to come, if somebody else wants to come and take this code and extend it, right, to do like parameter settings, right, AR/AP settings, or customer vendors, right, or whatever data you would like to do, the extendability of it is fairly straightforward, so that it's really a platform that you can take and make it your own, right? Especially if you have custom fields or custom objects that you want to do the comparison on, right? You can absolutely do that. So the platform is really there, and now you can take and do whatever you would like to extend it. Okay, and then the final piece, sorry, is I did want to show just where you can get this. So this is the Admin Toolkit GitHub page. If you want the source code, right, you could do the code here and actually bring it down locally. The one place that trips some people up is the already built pre-configured option here is over here in the releases area. So if you just want the deployable package and want to install it, right, you can grab it from here. This is actually going to be the Canny interface where the features and roadmap are available, right? So you can actually see what's currently completed, what's in progress, what's planned. And then if you want to submit a new feature request, you can do that as well. So if you have an idea that you're like, man, it'd be really cool if this did X, Y, or Z, right, you can come in and submit a feature request for that. And then finally, I do have a landing page on my blog site where you can actually see all the information. All of these links are available here as well. So that's available at under resources when you get if you went to my blog, and then the admin toolkit area. All right, so jumping back in really quick. So how can you get involved, right? Really, there's a couple different areas. One is obviously if you want to develop or test new features and functionality, you can absolutely do that. Like it's, you can go out and grab the code, make any changes you would like, grab a feature, and then actually check that code back in or pull request that code back in, and we can take a look to make sure that it meets the standards. Or if you want to test functionality as well, absolutely happy for that. If you're interested in that area, feel free to reach out to me, and we can get that set up. The other area that we absolutely probably need is documentation. Well, I know we need documentation because there's really none available right now. So 100% would be an area that would be helpful. Translating labels, if you are fluent in another language and want to help support, right, we can get you the label file, and you it's just like short words and phrases that we just need help supporting to translate there. You could submit new feature ideas or feature requests on the Canny site, or just sharing some of the posts on social media that you see come across from there. So lots of different ways to get involved if you're looking to do that. And at this point, I can go ahead. I don't know, Mark, if we want to do this now or later, but we can take any questions if there are any, or we can wait till later on if you have a dedicated question area. But I did want to just put out here my contact information and the different links that we kind of went to from that.
No, let's, if you have any questions, go ahead and take yourself, I think you can take yourself off mute and feel free to ask or type it in the chat.
Yeah, I saw that comment. I love on the roadmap that you have it to disable users that haven't logged in X amount of time. That's something that we developed at our company, and that's one of the things we show the auditors every year, and they love it, right? They're like, "Oh, that's fantastic!" Like, and even that gets us a little check mark, even though we probably don't do as good a job reviewing everyone's security as we should. But because we have that one line, right, that says, "Hey, if you haven't logged in so long, you get kicked out of the system." So that's fantastic. I love that you have that included.
Yeah, that's again, that's one of the great things about the community is getting the feedback from I've ran into that myself, but also hearing client feedback that those types of solutions help. So great to hear. Looks like Christina, do you have your hand up?
Yes, hi. This is a very good presentation. I appreciate you fueling the Dynamics community and helping us all kind of get creative with these thoughts. I will comment also on Daniel's. One thing we struggle with one of the solutions that we use now is it doesn't accurately show if someone logged in from a mobile app and if they should, would that 3-month range show that they've logged in from a mobile app or not?
Yep. So that actually brings up a very good point. So mobile apps within F&O are actually going to be tied to the worker record. So this is actually giving me a lot of really good ideas. So I thank you for bringing it up. And not technically a user record, right? So it gets a little complicated, but there are user records, right, which actually log you into the front end, where you can log in through the user interface, for example. But then there's worker records that are used to log into mobile devices, whether it's in the warehouse or production floor, execution module, or whatever other area, right? And so those worker records are a separate entity that you have to set up, and you maintain like a separate password for them. They're normally much shorter because you're using it on a handheld device. So that login would not be taken into account here currently, but that would definitely be something we could look at adding, because there's some complications with it because users are associated to a worker record, right? So you would have to tie those off and basically say, hey, did this user either log in through the user interface or the through a mobile device, right, before we disable them. But that's a really good point to bring up. So something we'll have to support for sure.
Yeah, sounds like it's continuously evolving. The other point or other question I had was in relationship to workflows. So we have some executives that would only be approving, they're not really using the functionality of D365. Would that be included in the automatic disabling after 3 months?
So I guess it would depend on how they are doing the approval, right? If it's going through like a Power Automate type of script or flow or something like that, it may not, because it has to, like, at the end of the day, those logins are either going to be from there's two different sources of information. One is the sys user log table, which if anybody has used that before knows that there are known gaps with that, and Microsoft's actually deprecating it. The other one would be the telemetry data that exists. and that one will be supported. If you have that turned on, you'll have to supply like where the telemetry data is for us to go query. But it would kind of, we may want to take that offline and talk about what that would look like. Because if they're doing the approval and they're actually logging in, like even if they, have a direct link and they log into a page and they hit approve within F&O, that would be considered a login. But I would just want to know a little bit more about what the scenario is before I give a definitive answer.
Yeah, and you made a really good point about the Power Automate, the flows, and how that, because I know you can do approvals for that and through Teams.
Right. Yep.
Okay, yeah, I'll reach out to you offline. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, no problem.
All right.
Awesome.
Don't see anything in the chat here. I love the fact again you've built into reports too. I'm just thinking again from an audit standpoint, you've already covered that, and again, it's just super easy to go out there. Again, I think that's going to make the auditors happy when they show up here next month.
Yeah. Right. Awesome. I'll go ahead and hand it back to you, Mark, then, and let you take it away.
Okay, thanks. Let me. I'm going to stop the recording there.